Hello and welcome back to Man vs Film. It's time for another top 10 movies that you can watch this month, June 2021. So let's just jump right into it. Number 10, When a Stranger Calls. Teenager Jill is babysitting one night for a physician and his wife. During the evening, a mysterious phone caller starts taunting her. Sometimes he says nothing, other times he asks, "Have you checked the children?" Jill eventually fears for her safety and calls the police, who successfully trace his next call and discover something horrifying. When a Stranger Calls is a really great horror movie from the late 70s, starring Carol Kane, who is brilliant in the role. It's a movie that the opening 20 minutes are very familiar, but from then on it changes and becomes something different and really unexpected. Kind of fun as well. When a Stranger Calls is not the typical kind of horror movie, but one that offers a lot in surprises. Number 9, John Dies at the End. It's a drug that promises an out-of-body experience with each hit. On the street they call it soy sauce, and users drift across time and dimensions. But some who come back are no longer human. Suddenly, a silent, otherworldly invasion is underway, and mankind needs a hero. What it gets instead, though, is John and David, a pair of college dropouts who can barely hold down jobs. John Dies at the End, directed by Don Coscarelli, is a wonderfully weird, silly and just brilliant movie. Filmed in a kind of low budget, it reaches lofty goals by reaching for something that should be unattainable. It's so weird and subversive and different that it's a movie that can put a lot of people on the back step. I love John Dies at the End. I want you to check it out. Number 8, Tucker and Dale vs Evil. Two lovable hillbillies are headed to their fixer-upper vacation cabin to drink some beer and do some fishing and have a good time. But when they run into a group of preppy college kids who assume from their looks that they must be inbred, chainsaw-wielding killers, Tucker and Dale's vacation takes a bloody and hilarious turn for the worse. Tucker and Dale vs Evil is one of the best horror comedies of recent years. It just takes a very familiar premise and turns it on its head, which is really invigorating and creates a lot of the humour as these college preppy kids misconstrue several scenes and ultimately jump to the most illogical conclusion imaginable. And what's even funnier is the way that they keep committing this weird suicide. They keep accidentally killing themselves by mistake, and to see Tucker and Dale's reactions as they just see these kids flinging themselves to their demise, it's just downright brilliant. Number 7, Robot and Frank. In the near future, Frank is a retired cat burglar, living alone while his successful son Hunter tries to care for him from afar. Finally, Hunter gets him a robot caretaker, but Frank soon learns that it is as useful as a burglary aid as Frank tries to restart his old profession. Frank Langella stars as Frank in this, and it's really good about an old man coming to terms with his life and trying to recapture a little bit of that youth that he takes as a mechanical weight to start off with becomes something that's far more useful, and he builds a relationship with that robot, which is incredibly endearing. Robot and Frank is quite an interesting film. Number 6, Hancock. A scruffy superhero named Hancock protects the citizens of LA, but leaves horrendous collateral damage in the wake of his well-intentioned deeds. That's okay with Hancock. He doesn't care what people think, and he's just as likely to be found dozing on a park bench as saving a damsel in distress. However, after saving the life of PR executive and meeting the man's beautiful wife, he realises that he may have a sensitive side after all. This movie just came a little bit too early. Hancock's really good, and in amongst a slew of superhero movies, it would be a breath of fresh air in the current climate. Going back to it, it's really kind of fun. It's a movie that left me wanting more once it was done. I'd be interested in a sequel to this one, watching a washed up, drunk superhero try to take care and constantly cause more and more damage was just a really fun kind of movie. With Jason Bateman and Charlize Theron along with Will Smith is a great cast as well. Number 5, The Sixth Sense. Malcolm Crowe is a child psychologist who receives an award the same night as he is visited by a very unhappy ex-patient. After this encounter, Crowe takes on the task of curing a young boy with the same ills as the ex-patient. This boy sees dead people. Crowe spends a lot of time with the boy, much to the dismay of his wife. Cole's mum is at her wit's end with what to do with her son's increasing problem. Crowe is the boy's only hope. The Sixth Sense holds up remarkably well. It's a terrific movie. M. Night Shyamalan made a statement with this film for a reason. Even knowing what comes at the end, it doesn't distract from the power of the movie, from the atmosphere, from the strange and ghastly, ghostly images that we see on screen, from the drama of this young boy coming to terms with his unusual ability. It's wonderfully directed and acted, and even now, many years after it was released, it still holds up. Number 4, Without Remorse. Seeking justice for the murder of his pregnant wife, an elite Navy SEAL uncovers a covert plot that threatens to engulf the United States and Russia in all-out war. Michael B. Jordan stars in this movie, which is kind of leading to a Rainbow Six movie next, and it is a by-the-numbers political thriller with some good action set pieces. Doesn't really do anything above and beyond that, but if you're looking for an interesting movie that has some really weird jumps in logic but genuinely entertains, Without Remorse kind of ticks most of those boxes without being a movie that you remember too much about it after watching it. Number 3, Reign of Fire. A 12-year-old Quinn Abercrombie and witnesses the accidental uncovering of a centuries-old fire-breathing dragon and waking it from its slumber. After witnessing the beast kill his mother, the film jumps 20 years to show a grown-up Quinn who is the fire chief in a refugee camp. Unexpectedly, as American militia leader shows up in the camp with a group of men he calls Slayers, Van Zandt and Quinn engage in a power struggle before realising it's the dragons they should be fighting. Oh man, Reign of Fire is the kind of movie I really enjoy. I just wish it had a bigger budget. Directed by Rob Bowman, the man who was behind many great X-Files episodes, it stars Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale. What a wonderful cast, and it's about real live dragons. I mean, is there any more I need to ask? It's incredibly fun. There's a wonderful moment where Bale is reenacting Star Wars for the kids of his refugee camp that's just super endearing. It's an incredibly fun movie, often forgotten about as well, and the special effects still hold up today. Number 2, Suspiria. American modern dance prodigy Susie Bannion leaves behind her repressive upbringing and moves to a divided 1970s Berlin to join a world-renowned all-female dance company led by charismatic choreographer Madame Blanc. Unbeknownst to all but the most senior members, the company is run by a coven of witches whose magic power could empower Susie or destroy her. Suspiria is a fantastic remake. It's a fantastic movie in its own right, and I love the original, but this one adds so much more to it. It has a kind of melancholy feel to it. It's very mesmeric in the way it delivers a lot of its information in its scenes. It has some standout moments of horror throughout this as well that are, well, I don't want to give away the surprises, but they are truly shocking and will stick with you long after seeing them. I think this is a wonderful movie, masterfully done, staged, and is really compelling. Number 1, Saint Maud. Deeply religious Maud, a tight-lipped live-in nurse with a dark past, takes a job in the humdrum English coastal town to look after Amanda, a once celebrated, now terminally ill former dancer and choreographer. Convinced that she has been sent to Amanda with a purpose, Maud soon becomes obsessed with saving her vulnerable patient from herself, and in the process lead her into the light However, is worldly Amanda prepared to receive absolution for her sins? St Maud is a really well constructed movie involving a rather damaged main character, someone who you can see has severe issues and is latched onto religious beliefs as a form of escaping those issues, but has just compounded them. And we see her relationship with Amanda, which is a really strained one, and where Amanda is almost like the devil versus the godly Maud, as they kind of have these verbal tete-a-tetes which are wonderful to experience. It's a movie where you're never quite sure where it's actually heading, and it is a rather interesting finale to this one, but it's a movie that is quick, it's punchy, it's very different, and it will stick with you long after seeing it. I hope you enjoy St Maud. So there we have it, 10 movies that I hope you find something there that you really want to watch this month. If there's something I've left off my list, let me know in the comment box below, and I will see you next time on Man v Film.